I'd like to actually share a little bit of a warning with you, something to be cautious of and to watch for. And I'm sure you've encountered this in the past. This is a topic that I've seen quite a bit, and it actually is quite frustrating for me. And that's the concept of conflicting information. There's so many times out there when you'll hear different things from the experts, and they're in direct opposition to each other. And so I'm going to give you a couple ideas, some guidelines how you can navigate that so you don't get confused and frustrated. First of all, it's interesting how experts constantly are disagreeing on things or they're changing their recommendations over time. Some examples of this I remember over the years seeing where aspirin could be dangerous, then it's beneficial to you. Um, Egg yolks, they were a culprit for a while, then they're healthy. Red wine, it's supposed to be good for your heart, and then later, oh, well, watch out, don't do this. And so they're just it's always cycling through things that are good for you a couple years, and then a few years later, they're not. A great example of this is just the concept of the food pyramid. When it started out, it looked very different than it does today. And some of the reasons for that are agriculture and beef and dairy lobby. All these people kind of get behind it, and it gets kind of skewed a little bit. So there's lots of reasons that those things can change over time. But I actually have a little short YouTube video I'm just going to attach in the comments so you can see the evolution of the food pyramid changing over the years, which is kind of interesting. If you want to get more information on that. So one reason why we see this so much is this conflicting information is because the sensationalism sells, clickbait, things that'll get you to click on a story. And so you'll see a lot of stuff like this. I remember years ago, there was a guy that went on a Twinkie diet for a month and he lost like 14 or 15 pounds, something like that. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, eating Twinkies, that's a way to lose weight. And it's like, obviously not. But the people that reported it, they didn't give all the details behind it. They just were looking for a flashy headline and getting some views. And so you get a lot of that kind of stuff. I recall maybe 15, 20 years ago, Time Magazine even came out with an article that questioned exercise. Is exercise really good for you? And it had all these contradictory studies and things like that. And I'm just thinking, of all the places in the world where we have such a sedentary lifestyle, this isn't what we need to be pushing in America, is that exercise is bad for you. And obviously, they're just looking for these strange cases where they can, stir the pot and get things going. So there's lots of clickbait out there, lots of news headlines and just brief stories you'll hear about something. And you just want to be careful and not to have a knee-jerk reaction to that and go out and panic or base your life off of some short little story or an anecdote you saw in the news. One problem with that is so many of these studies are very poor. They have a small study group. Maybe there's 12 to 20 people in the group, and it only lasted for a couple of weeks, the study they did. So some of these are not very scientific. There's no longitudinal studies. There's not the double blind, the placebo group, a lot of those things. And a lot of it's just speculation and correlation and guessing on things. So you want to be careful on a lot of those types of headlines you hear. If it ever, if in the back of your head you're saying, how can that be? I think the most frustrating experience I ever had with this was years ago. I was on YouTube and I was researching nutrition about the proper macronutrients, how much of each of those you should have. And there was a conference that I saw with different speakers, people who were scientists, PhDs, doctors, dietitians, nutritionists, all these experts in their field. They had all this data to back up their studies and their opinions. The first guy got up and said, you should have a high carb, high starchy diet. Look at these people in Peru I've been studying. Look at their longevity. Look at this and that. The next person said, no, you need to only vegetables, and you need to have a vegetarian diet type of thing. So much better. Look at these studies from China that shows how it affects cancer rates. Then a guy got on here with like a keto, paleo type of thing, and they were all just like button heads and arguing about the best way, and they all had the information to back it up. So that can be kind of frustrating. Even in like fitness, Muscle and Fitness magazine, which is a bodybuilding magazine, some time ago they had an issue, a special commemorative issue that would talk about all the prior Mr. Olympias, all the guys who had won that competition over the years since it started. And it was interesting because they had lots of information they agreed on, lots of things in common, but I was still surprised at how many things they disagreed with. Training protocol, eating, things like that they said, no, I would never do it this way. And some other champion says, oh, I totally do it this way. So it's very interesting to see that even the experts or people on the top pinnacle of a certain field can disagree on certain things like that. So the point of this, I just want to make sure when you are on the computer and you see something on a KSL news study that came out or some email that you get that says beet juice will decrease your heart attack by 10% or something like that, whatever it could be, or that says something might actually be dangerous now for you, that's fine. That may be true, but just take it. Just use some common sense about it. Don't jump to conclusions and change your whole nutrition or your whole thing because of some study you heard or some headline in a thing that came across the internet. So basically, I'm telling you to listen to your gut. Use some, like I said, these three things: balance, variety, moderation. It's hard to get screwed up when you're applying those things. So again, just know when you see something in a week that comes across your feed and it's contradictory to the things I'm telling you. Maybe they could be right, maybe I am, but you need to do some studying on your own and listen to your gut on these things, and use some common sense on a lot of this stuff, because it's always going to be changing, which is kind of frustrating. So anyway, yeah, I'm sure you can navigate through that, and figure out what you should do to make you healthier you.